Maybe don't know.
This time, this time, this time, this time, this time to build, 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 power, this time to build, power, this time to build, power, this time to build, power.
What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Chris Hampton.
And this is Nate Drolet.
And Nate and I recently read, or I listened to, I guess, Inside the Box, How Constraints Make Us Better, which is David Epstein's newest book. And then we talked with the patrons about how we felt about the book, our review of it. And there was one chapter, Nate, that irked me, didn't irk you as badly. And that was the chapter about bottlenecks. It frustrated me because it didn't really offer ways to recognize the bottlenecks or how to formulate solutions to solve the bottlenecks. And you weren't as bothered by it because you said, well, if somebody's writing about it, if this is a thing, then there must be a reason someone's writing about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that got me thinking, you're right. There are a lot of common bottlenecks in climbing that I just take for granted that people should be considering. But they're still bottlenecks for a lot of people because they aren't considering them, or they haven't considered it deep enough, or they don't think they're falling victim to that bottleneck or whatever.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a series of episodes about some of the most common bottlenecks in climbing performance, not climbing training. That'll be a different series if we get there. This is more about climbing performance. At our current level of strength, power, endurance, psychology, whatever, this is what we're capable of climbing. But what are the other bottlenecks that are holding us back outside of the gains we could be making in the gym? That's where everybody goes. If something's holding me back, I need to go to the gym. And I don't think that's the real bottleneck for most people. Not today, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So today, our first bottleneck, let me say this too. This first one is on our main feed. If you're listening to it now, that's where you're probably hearing it. Most of the other ones, I may put another one on the main feed, but most of the other bottlenecks are going to go straight to our patrons. That's where most of our efforts are focused right now. You can become a patron for $3 a month, or you can become a patron for free and get our first 100 bonus episodes. And then there are a bunch after that if you want to join at the $3 a month level. So today we're talking about time spent outside. And maybe it's not surprising that this is a big bottleneck for people. In our data of almost 1,000 climbers, it shows that this is the highest correlated thing we've gathered information on, is the number of days you've spent outside are highly correlated to how hard do you climb. Interestingly enough, it's not how many days you train are correlated. It's how many days you go outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people miss that, even though it might seem obvious at first.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is one of those ones that part of me almost wishes it wasn't as true as it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's plenty of people who put in a tremendous amount of work.
Mm-hmm.
But all things being equal, more time outside up into a pretty high point is better. I will say with my clients, when they are consistent with climbing outside, it's just an easier game. Like, their progress comes so much easier than people who struggle to get outdoors.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even think there's a question to that. And, we can look at these outliers, these people who are like, oh, they've only been climbing for a year. They've been in the gym for all of that. They go outside their first time and they climb harder than you.
Mm-hmm.
It's really easy to make that comparison and feel like, oh, I just need to be in the gym more often. But they're outliers because they're not the average person, If you're comparing yourself to that and you're falling short, you're not the outlier. That's just the way that it is.
Yeah.
Most of us need to be spending time outside to be good at climbing outside.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of those outliers, they feel like an outlier because you're not seeing it on a large enough time scale. So there's in Houston, I'll call him a kid because at the time he was younger than me, grew up in the same gym that I had climbed in, went out, I think after like 2 years of climbing, went to Rocklands and climbed something crazy like 40 double digit boulders and like almost never climbed outside before that.
Yeah.
He has now climbed V16. So it is easy to look at this and be like, wow, I mean, very little outdoor climbing. And he's already at what feels like an expert level. Well, as far as his potential goes, we could say from a performance standpoint that, yes, that was a high performance. However, from a potential standpoint, that was actually very low in the grand scheme of his potential. He was just destined to climb much, much harder. And so in hindsight, I'm sure he would even look back and be like, oh man, I would had no clue what I was doing then. And I could have even done better knowing what I know now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really important to say. Your comparison is one dot on a big timeline, and you need to be able to look at the whole thing, ideally. I also think that this bottleneck, while it does apply to everyone to some degree, I think it applies much more to the newer climber. And as you become more and more experienced, you don't need quite as much time outside. The interesting thing, though, is that as you become more experienced, if you're a lifelong climber, if you're dedicated to it the way that you and I and lots of other people are, you're finding ways to get more time outside. That becomes your focus after you've been doing it for quite a while. It should be the focus of the newer climber, in my opinion, over training, which seems to be, and I'm not downing training. Like I'm one of the biggest proponents of training in the history of climbing, period. But I think it goes too far when the new climber is substituting days outside for training.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Let's start with some symptoms that I think indicate that you're a person who's falling victim to this bottleneck. You're stuck in this bottleneck and you need to try to get more time outside. I think the first one very quickly is just if you're someone who says very often, I don't have time, you're probably someone who needs to figure out a way to find more time.
Mm-hmm.
And I know most of the people who say that are going to immediately argue, like, well, I don't have time. But that's rarely actually true. You know, if you want a thing, you'll figure out a way to make it work. Doesn't mean it can happen tomorrow, but I think you're one of those people. One symptom I hear a lot, though, is people who climb a lot better in the gym than they do outside.
Mm-hmm.
If the grades in the gym feel radically different than the grades outside, and you can climb V9 in your gym but can only climb V3 outside or something like that, you're probably someone who needs to be spending more time outside.
Yeah, I think this is fair. And I will say a little bit of pushback on this. There are certain facilities who maybe the first opening few grades might be a little bit more of gimmies, V0, 1, 2, 3, a little squishy. And the idea is like, hey, let's actually build some progress into this so people aren't just stuck at V0 for the first year of rock climbing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do agree. If you feel like if V6 outdoors feels like V9 indoors, there is a problem. It is. Yeah. And it's funny because so many people, or same thing, if climbing on a board, if climbing on a moon board or tension board feels easier for you, if you climb the same grade or harder on a board as you do outside,
totally,
my dude or dudette or non-binary dude,
yes,
you got a problem. Boards should not feel the same or easier than climbing outside. And most outdoor,
if your goal is to climb outside,
thank you. If your goal is to climb outside, and yeah, thank you. That is a huge caveat. This whole argument is if your goal is to climb outside and to perform outside.
Yeah.
If climbing outside is, just a recreational activity, a way for you to set up a hammock, out in the boulder field, cool. That's totally fine. Don't do it on a trail. But otherwise, that's rad. But this is all spoken under the assumption that you want to perform outdoors as your main aspect of performance. And if board climbing feels the same or easier than outdoors, brother, you are in that bottleneck.
In that same vein, I think, because it's so popular today to sort of get and know your metrics, your strength metrics. If your metrics suggest that you should be climbing way harder than you actually are, if your finger strength is at a V14 level and you're only climbing V6, then you probably need to be spending more time outside. Not more time training, not more time gaining finger strength. You need to learn how to climb on real rock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally fair.
And then I think if you're someone who, this one's a little harder maybe to connect to, but there are definitely people out there. If you're at the beginning of your season, if you're just getting outside for the first time in a while because it's been snowy or too hot or whatever, it takes you more than a session or so to get back into feeling like you know what you're doing outside, then you're probably someone who needs to be spending more time outside. Session or two, I would say.
Yeah, I think I do agree, because I think I was trying to just think about my own experience here. If you have a long enough gap, absolutely. Like, it can make it to where it takes a long time to get back. And so maybe that even is, you just try and fill in some of those long gaps.
Exactly.
If you normally climb summer or spring, fall, try and fill in a little bit of wintertime. Try and fill in a little bit of summertime.
Take a trip if you have to.
Yeah. I was talking with Mike Doyle not too long ago, a tremendous Canadian athlete who I think has almost a 30-year streak of climbing a 514 a year.
I believe that. Yeah.
Something very impressive. I forget exactly what it is. But we were just talking about this idea of currency on rock. And he was saying the biggest breakthrough he had in his climbing was, it used to be he would be up in Canada and climb spring, fall. And then over the winters, he would, like winters and summers, he would just, climb in the gym and train and whatever. And then finally one winter, he just decided, okay, I'm going to make the effort. I'm going to get down to Smith and I'm going to climb outside whenever I can through the winter just to stay on rock. And then when he came back, it was like, oh, okay, now he could hit the ground running when spring actually happened. And that was an enormous boost for his climbing.
Totally. And frankly, I think that even if you're someone who, like I suspect that Mike in those situations prior to going to Smith for the winter, it would still only take him a session or two to get back to feeling pretty good. But I've seen people take half a season to feel like they're really firing.
Yeah.
And then you've just wasted half a season.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
When you could have, like you said, get more time in that big gap, even if it's bad conditions, go out in bad conditions, do easier routes, get your currency up, take a trip if you can. Or when you're in your season, especially earlier in your season, try to get more days in if possible.
Yeah. All right. I got an addition to this. Okay. If fall is always historically a bad season for you, if you don't feel like you really hit the ground running until it is winter or spring, and fall just feels like this ramp up that never comes to fruition, no matter what you try, this is probably the case. Like, you are coming in just underprepared, and it is taking you that long. Because I know experienced climbers who that is the case. They just struggle to have good falls. And especially, we both have climbed in the red a lot. Like, if you want a good autumn day, I mean, it might be November 1st. Like, truly.
Yeah.
But if you are willing to settle for some 70-degree days, you can have a whole nother month and a half of climbing.
Yeah. And you said you're coming in underprepared, and some people will read that as my action capacities, my strength, my power is underprepared. That's not what you're saying at all. You're saying you're underprepared in terms of your currency on rock.
Yes.
The how
I mean,
you can move on rock.
yeah, it could be both, but also, yes, how you're
Yeah.
moving on rock. And moving on rock, trying hard on rock, a huge thing that happens to people. There are a lot of people who outdoors is performance, indoors is training. And
Yeah.
what you will often see is, man, maybe they are training really well indoors all summer. And it's like, oh, yeah, we're building strength, we're building endurance, all this. But they never fight to the death unless they are outside on a project. So they go outside, they haven't had to do a hard clip in forever. They haven't had to really do a hard sequence pumped in a long time, one that mattered where they're above a bolt. They have lost a lot of they've become rusty in so many of these skills because they only practice it outdoors.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And that sort of leads me right into why widening this bottleneck is important. If you're especially, if you're the person who says, I only have so many days, I can't add more days. Figuring out a way to widen this bottleneck will be really important for your climbing. And one of those reasons is because if your currency on rock is up, if your ability to climb way above a bolt and still try hard, or be way up above the pads and still do a hard move without over gripping, without locking up, if those things are current, then you're better able to leverage your training outside.
Mm-hmm.
If you aren't good on rock, if you can't read the rock well, if you can't feel comfortable moving on rock, you may not be leveraging very much of your training. You might have gotten your fingers to world-class levels, but you're still moving on rock like a relative beginner. So it's not showing up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the most important reasons why you should try to widen this bottleneck.
Yeah, I do think skill on rock creates transparency in the strength you have.
I like that.
This is, I think, very, very true for sport climbers. Boulders can get away with it a little bit more, but
yeah, totally.
Man, if you're a sport climber who isn't comfortable on rock, does your 513 project have a 511 intro? If it does, if you can't climb on that almost in your sleep, just relax, confident on the feet, just moving fluidly. If you're just like, ooh, I can hear my shoes squeaking under my feet, I don't like this. You're going to get pumped before you even get to the crux. And this is the thing I tell so many clients who do have a big break. They come back to sport climbing. They're going to try their project first time. And they're like, oh no, I got more pumped than I thought I would. It's like, well, yeah, when was the last time you were on rock? Like, when was the last time you've had to trust feet? You have to give it time.
Yeah, totally. I also think that if you're spending most of your time in the gym, like if you're trading, you have the opportunity to climb outside, but you'd rather go into the gym, you end up climbing on roughly the same angles a lot of the time, grabbing the same types of holds a lot of the time, especially if you're a board climber, and not downing boards. They're a great tool. We've talked about this a lot on this podcast. They're a great tool, but they're a limited tool. And the best tools are limited, A screwdriver is a classic tool, but it doesn't do the job that a hammer does.
Yeah.
That's just the way tools are. But you end up climbing on the same angles and same holds, and your adaptability gets pretty low because of that. Climbing outside, especially sport climbing, you might climb one route that has a slab, a roof, an overhanging section, slopers, crimps, pockets. It might have it all in one route, and you get more out of that than you do. Even if it's an relatively easy route, you might get more out of that than you would an entire training session in the gym, especially if you're someone who's in this bottleneck.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree.
And that's, I said earlier, it's really important for people earlier in their climbing career, the relative beginner, intermediate climber. And I think this part of it is really where that comes in. You're getting, access to so many more angles and types of holds and situations, and just dealing with the whole experience of being outside when you're new in your career can be really overwhelming,
Yeah. Yes.
You can get all of that stuff out of the way on less than great days when it's not amazing conditions, when you're not trying to perform at your best. And that can be really valuable because it opens up those perfect condition days for really trying hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a newer climber, those outdoor days are great too, because they help inform what you're doing indoors.
Totally.
Because if right from the rip you are training more than you're climbing outside, what are you training for?
The boards.
I mean, hey, no, I got no problems there.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
truly, like, what are you training for? Is it outdoors? And how do you know? Like, or is it just this, simulacrum of outdoor climbing that you believe outdoor rock climbing is, until you get that experience, which takes a lot of time. And I mean, I think it's something that continues to update over time of what is outdoor climbing to me and what do I actually need to do to be prepared for it? Like, man, I update my beliefs around that every year, but they only get updated because I keep rock climbing outside.
Yeah. And, you live in Salt Lake. Most of my climbing around me is really similar, steep pocketed limestone, essentially. But you live in Salt Lake where you have access to a lot of different styles of climbing. One season you might be in Little Cottonwood. The next season you might be at American Fork. Then you might be at Maple. You know, there's all these different styles of climbing around you. So knowing what to train and what you need help with, you're not really going to know unless you go out and get experience on those things. And why waste the good season doing that when you can add in days, ideally, that don't cut into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we're talking mostly about like early in your climbing career people here, but I think it's really easy to fall into the trap later in your career too, when you've done some things and now it's like, oh, I what I need is training. I need to train hard. I need to get strong. And I'm all for that, 100% all for that. But you also have to remember how to do rock climbs. There's a certain intensity that you have to be able to tap into to finish a difficult rock climb, whether that's a sport climb or a boulder. And you can fall out of practice.
Yeah.
Sending a rock climb is hard. So I think going out, even if you're an experienced climber, and making sure you send some things early in the season before the good temps are there can really help you build some momentum. This has been studied over and over. If you build momentum, you're going to be more likely to succeed the next time. It's just a thing. People can get on a streak. You send a thing, you're going to send the next thing a little faster because you've built that momentum. And that just takes a few more days.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just it. It doesn't, like, this isn't us saying, oh, you climb 20 days outside here, you need to get to 100.
No.
It does not have to be an enormous jump, though it should be way more. You should be climbing more than 20.
Yes.
Truly. I mean, and this is the thing that's crazy. I have heard some coaches say, like, yeah, 50 is a good rule of thumb. Man, that's a good floor. It's hard to go much below that.
Yeah.
Which, I kind of agree with. And then I've heard some coaches be like, yeah, but 100's better. And then I heard a coach not too long ago be like, yeah, but if you're serious, 150, which is crazy. Like,
yeah,
I do think between, honestly, 50 and 100, damn good. If you,
yeah, I agree.
100's sick. That is, you've got a lot going for you. If you're getting outside 100 days a year, that is remarkable. And you're going to be checking a lot of boxes doing that. Yeah. But I also fully recognize that's an extreme number for most people.
Yeah. I also think later in the career, just adding a few more days, not trying to jump from 50 to 150, but if you can jump from 50 to 65 days, that's 15 more days that you get the opportunity to try to do a rock climb.
Yeah.
And when you're late in your career, it's unlikely that you're going to be seeing big gains from training.
Yeah.
You've probably already been training for a while. Your gains are going to be incremental. And you already know, if you're late in your career, that climbing hard things is more a test of will against the rock than I need an extra percentage of finger strength. Very often it's I need more tries, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Skin probably limits us more than finger strength on really hard rock climbs.
Dude, I mean, yeah, once you are very experienced, that is, if you think about what you actually have control over, it's like
Yeah.
your finger strength's not going up at much of a rate. And that's not, it's not me saying like it can't happen because in a discouraging way, but
still
it's just,
do it.
Yeah, still do it, still try. And because maintaining it's good. But yeah, I mean, that is, if you look at development curves of, let's say, like a power lifter, brother, it's kind of depressing. It's like, well, you're telling me most of the gains you get are going to be, if you're smart, it's the first 2 years are the massive bulk of it. After 4, it's like you're just getting trickles.
Yeah.
And after 10, yikes. Yeah, but I mean, that is the case for sure. And I don't know, grip strength is like, and those are with big compound movements that use a lot of large trainable muscles. We're trying to train these little forearm things to keep getting stronger. And we just don't have great evidence of continuing to get meaningfully stronger year after year for a very long time.
Yeah.
In your fingers. But man, there's a lot of other things you can be doing to keep improving.
Yeah. And we've all encountered the situation where the season ends, you don't do the thing, and you're like, if I just had one more day.
Oh,
you know, one more day and I could have gotten it done. Well, what if you had added that day 2 weeks earlier?
Mm-hmm.
You know, then you'd have that extra day. And if you do that regularly, you get a lot of extra days, which means you get a lot of extra sins and you get to go try new things. And for me, that means a lot. So it may not seem like much to go from 50 to 55, but it can mean several more good sins.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think also if you're going from, you said what, like 50 to 65 earlier, but if that's spread out into, okay, like you're now getting out twice a month through the summer and still touching rock, instead of having a big 3-month gap of not rock climbing, okay, we've got like 6 sessions, maybe 8 sessions thrown in there. Cool. You're going to come back feeling better. And, maybe you're climbing in a different area that has a different rock type or whatever. Like there's a lot to be gained there.
Yeah, totally. And frankly, this just can't be shortcut. Like you can't gain experience outside by going in the gym. You just can't do it. There's no way to shortcut this. Some people are going to be better adapted to it. They're going to be better at reading rock. They're going to be better at climbing on rock. Just to start. But you can't shortcut your own process. The only way to do this is to get outside. And if we see it, if our data shows that it's as important as we believe it is, which I think the data does show that, then, it's a thing you should be adding in if you're not already doing it.
Yeah. Something that's been interesting out here being Salt Lake City, is there are a lot of people who are just outdoor enthusiasts. They just want to do whatever. And there's a lot of people who, man, for them, like they'll rock climb outside 4 days a week. They will never get a gym membership because also they're going to ski in the winter. Maybe they'll get a gym membership for like 2 months when it's dumping snow, just on their ski rest days. But otherwise, man, they're trad climbing, they're sport climbing, they're bouldering. And it's a very kind of recreational thing. Like it's just, it is no different to them than Frisbee golf. They're outside having fun. And what I am so impressed by is they still climb decently well. Like these are people who They don't train. They don't care to get stronger. And they're like, okay, movers. It's fine. But I mean, they're not like super intentional. They've never watched a beta video before. They're just going out vibing. But their fluency on rock, their confidence on rock, especially on granite, you're like, oh, dude, like, I don't know. It's so funny to say, but sometimes I'm like, you're not very good, but you are so comfortable. It really makes up for it. And I'll see people just like, floating up granite V5, V6, just, just as a casual Thursday thing, because that's what they do. And it's because they are so comfortable on rock that, if I were to just see them in the gym, I bet I would be like, ooh, yikes, you're going to have trouble outside. Like if they told me they were wanting to climb V6, but because all they do is climb outside so much, they really fill in the gaps elsewhere.
Yeah. I would much rather be that person who sucks in the gym, but feels really comfortable outside than to be the person who climbs really well in the gym, but then goes outside and just feels bumbly.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that I think I put in. What is it? Maybe it is one of our future bottlenecked episodes, but I put it in things you have to give up to climb harder. I forget. It's one of our upcoming. I say upcoming as if we don't have a list of 300 things.
Yeah, giant list.
One of our upcoming episodes. It's things you need to give up, and I do think to some degree climbing harder outside, giving up, some forms of performance. Like, bro, I'm never going to be super strong with grip training, with off the ground lifts, arm lifting type of stuff. It'd be cool. I see that stuff, especially like on YouTube. Those guys are so strong. Some people are just animals. I see Ben Galper lifting crazy stuff. I'm like, that would be cool. But I also know that is not me keeping the goal. If I chased that rabbit, I would never come within spitting distance of Ben Galper. Jesus Christ. But yeah, I could improve that all I want. I would likely never be happy with it where it is, and it would not help my rock climbing. Not nearly as much as me going rock climbing and me focusing on the things that actually sharpen me as a rock climber. And so that is something that you kind of have to, that is a trade that you have to make. At a certain point, you have to say, okay, do I want to do all of these moonboard benchmarks and TB2 classics? Like, do I want to go chase those, or do I want to do effective training for this period of time because I want to go on a trip, or I want to have a good performance season here in Little Cottonwood Canyon? What is it that I actually need and am trying to do?
Yeah. You just quoted Dan John, a quote that we've used a lot. The goal is to keep the goal the goal. And that sounds really simple, but it's actually quite hard to do.
Yeah.
And I think you're highlighting that here. It's really easy to get trapped into doing things that are pushing you towards some other goal rather than the goal you initially were aiming for. And I don't think there's a better way, if you're intentional, to aim at the goal of being able to climb better outside than by trying to get more days climbing outside. So keeping the goal. I think that's one we have to add here. Days outside help you keep the goal of climbing better outside. The goal.
Yeah.
Let's talk some solutions here. How can the person who is time strapped, who is falling victim to this common bottleneck, how can they do better? How can they get more days outside?
Yeah, you got a little list here I like a lot. So first off, and I like this one that you put, don't just climb in good conditions. That one I think super important. I do have one little caveat, but I would say for step one, don't just climb in good conditions. Like, climb outside often. It is funny. I'm here in Salt Lake now, and dude, just climbing in Maple in the summer every day is blessed. Like, it doesn't matter how hot it is. I don't care. Every day, the worst 109-degree day in town in Maple, it is better than almost every September day in the Red River Gorge I've ever had.
When we were
Like-
just in Maple, I was blown away by how nice it was,
Dude,
even though it
it's
was 100 degrees just outside of the canyon.
It's so good. It's so
Yeah.
dumb. It's stupid how fun it still is. And like, I'm belaying in a sweatshirt and I climb, I'm not sweating. Like
Right.
the toothpaste between your fingers that you get from climbing in the red, people out west don't even know what I'm talking about. They're like,
No,
why do you have
no
toothpaste
way.
between your fingers? And I'm like, I am
Yeah.
cursed with knowledge that you'll never have to experience.
But I guarantee there are people in Salt Lake City going, it's too hot.
Brother, it sometimes can be like pulling teeth because they're like,
Yeah.
no, you can't climb outside in the summer out here. Yeah. It is incredible. I love it. And so, but yeah, super fortunate. That said, I punched the clock. I used to live in the red, like in between college, years in college. I spent every summer in the red, like often working at Miguel's. I left every morning with a full gallon of water. I came back with an empty jug every single day. I actually remember someone at one point being like, don't you think that maybe you'll like drain the electrolytes out of you by drinking that much? And I was like, I think it's worse if I don't, because I'll just die. Like, which one? Which
have
one
you
are we
heard of
choosing?
heat stroke?
Brother, I know. Yeah. Yeah. I have put in the time. I have climbed so much in so many bad conditions.
Yeah.
It's worth it, man. It is so worth it.
That's not to say you should always climb in bad conditions.
And that was going to be my caveat.
If you have a surplus of time, then you don't need to go out in every condition possible. But I suspect that if you're the person who loves going rock climbing so much that you've, added so that you're climbing 150 days outside, you're not cherry picking every single good day either. You're also going out on the less than perfect days and climbing other things. I suspect that's the case most of the time.
Yeah. I will say there is a transition period a lot of people experience. A lot of people are overstokers there's a lot of people who will be just like, yeah, man, I'm going to go outside no matter the conditions, no matter what.
Oh yeah, been there.
And they do that. But then there are sometimes people take this and you look over and you're like, why are you climbing a vert, like dead vert in the middle of the summer, in direct sun at a crag with no wind when there is a shady overhanging, like steep exposed cliff just around the corner? So I will say, yeah, try and get the days in, but also still pay attention to conditions. Don't be dumb.
Use decent tactics.
Yes, exactly. Like there is a difference here that I apparently need to say out loud, but use good tactics. Like still chase conditions within the days that you're doing it. Cause also, man, it is more fun. Like if you can go find something that's just a little more pleasant, it is so much better and so much more enjoyable. Also, as you get more experienced, sometimes the difference in conditions makes a big enough difference that, yeah, man, you could try this thing 8 more days and it's not going to make a difference. But if it dropped 10 degrees, you're just going to do it. Like that is a thing in harder grades.
Totally.
So you're better off chasing good conditions when they're within the season. A good piece of advice a buddy of mine, Chad Volk, gave me was when coming out here, he was like, hey, don't climb out the summer crags. Like he was like, I see it out here.
Smart.
Like, there are only so many crags that will be nice in the summer. Do not go and then climb them out all fall, all winter, all spring. Save them. You're going to be here because I'm planning on being in Salt Lake for a very long time. He's like, don't burn through the only nice summer crags you have, because then you're done. You're out of it. And then you're stuck with only good weather crags.
Totally.
And everything is already, that's the joke, man. Anytime I talk with someone about a crag and they're like, it's sick, you got to check it out. And I'm like, when is it good? They're like, October, November. I'm like, cool. Same with the rest of the world, like all of the rest of the, northern half of the world. So yeah, save summer crags. Do not burn your way through them.
Yeah, that's really good beta. I also think that because you're a time-strapped person, I know what that's like. You know what that's like. It's hard. And it's not only hard for you, but it's hard for the people around you. whether
Mhm.
that's a partner, a spouse, your kids, your business partners, the people you work with, whatever, it's going to affect them as well. So you have to become an obsessive planner.
Yeah.
You have to let people know ahead of time. So so there's not so much friction in actually going outside. I remember when I was painting murals and I lived in Cincinnati, it was hard for me to climb 3 days on in the red. So what I ended up doing was, and I had other people, partners who got on the same schedule because we were planning ahead. We would do Saturday, Sunday, and Tuesday.
Mhm.
We'd come home Monday, we'd rest, we'd go back on Tuesday. But I had work. So I made it work with the people I worked with, but then the clients who I'm painting murals for, some of these people are extremely wealthy. They're used to getting their way,
Yeah.
And I remember telling this client once, well, I'm not going to be here on Tuesdays. So, I'll be here 4 days a week. I'll be here Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And he was like, well, what do you mean? Everybody works on Tuesday. I need you to be here on Tuesday. And I
Yeah.
said, well, you can need me to be there all you want, but you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. Find somebody else to paint this mural if you don't like it. And that's the way it is. Like, I had to make that a priority, and I'm letting the people know ahead of time. This is how it's got to be. It's hard to do, but I think you have to do that. And there's less friction if you do.
So much less friction. Yeah. Work things out ahead of time. Communicate clearly.
Yeah.
You know.
One day can be a big ask for a lot of people, you know? So having extra friction thrown into there, not a good idea. But if you can get rid of that, it's super helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely agree.
Let's talk some ways that when you are outside, let's say you do get that day, you get an extra day a month or whatever. You're able to move it from 50 to 65 days a year. How do you make the most of that extra time that you have? Like, how can you make that time work for you better?
I mean, I think for one, plan ahead. For sure. Like make a game plan. We talked about like having the more global plan ahead of who are you going with, where are you going, but then what are you doing today?
Yeah.
The thing that I refuse to do is show up to the crag, get there, drop ropes, and be like, okay, cool. So what are we doing?
No way, dude.
Bro,
No.
if we're not talking about it before we even like if I see the person ahead of time, we're talking the week before we even climb. Or at the very least, maybe it's on the drive or it's the hike in. But the whole day should be planned out. By the time I am at the cliff, I know what I'm doing. And maybe I'll have a plan B. Like I've been climbing up in the pipe dream, and warm-ups can kind of everything can bottleneck. I was going to say the warm-ups can bottleneck everything.
Yeah.
The real bottleneck in rock climbing is the pipe dream and maple. Like, bro.
Can we just officially rename the crag to the bottleneck?
It might as well be. But so yeah, I'll have plan A, plan B. Plan B is literally just if everyone is climbing on the exact same thing, which they always are, then okay, I'm going to come in, I'm going to do this other variation. But the plan is there. And the nice thing about that is we know what we're doing. It's all set up. And it takes any guesswork out. Also, it takes a lot of stress out. If I'm like, I don't know, maybe I want to try this, but I'm a little bit tired. If optimistic, feeling fresh me said, I'm doing 3 burns on my project today, I'm giving 3 burns on my project. Like, that is what's happening. And
I should say this also, I started this by saying if you've got that extra day. But this definitely goes for if you can't get extra days. If you have limited time outside, you should already be doing this.
Absolutely.
And if you're not, you're really missing the boat.
Yes. Yeah. So making the plans. Something else I'll also say is I personally find logistics of new crags a little bit tough.
Mm.
It just takes a lot of time to learn a new area. It's a time suck. So if you can get the opportunity to go climbing with someone else who already knows an area, knows a boulder field, knows a crag, jump on it. It doesn't matter if you were like, but I'm like, I don't really have anything going on over there. If you might in the future, take it, jump on it.
Totally.
And then you get to learn from them. Okay, what is the approach? Like, where's the drive? Where's the parking? What is the approach like? What are the good warm-up boulders or routes? Everything you need to know so that in the future, there is less friction between you and going outside. You now have a new cliff or a new boulder field that you get to climb in.
Yeah.
That is such an enormous win.
Yeah, I agree. That's if you've ever spent a day just searching for a boulder or not finding the route that you wanted to find, then you know how valuable this is. It can save you a hell of a lot of time. And I appreciate that you added in, it reduces the friction for the next time, because that's totally true. The more comfortable, the more familiar you are with an area, the easier it is to go there. I'll sort of throw in a caveat here, but also add in the next point, which is if you do know an area well already, try to avoid being the rope gun, the guide for the day. I see a lot of people fall into this trap, and it's almost always the people who are like, I have limited time to climb outside. And this weekend, I'm going to take out my 3 friends who've never climbed before, and I'm going to guide them around, and I'm going to be the rope gun for everybody. So I'm only going to get to climb 5/8, even though I have this 512 project I've been hoping I can get done. Yeah. And it's perfect outside. So they had a great time, but I didn't get to try my route at all.
Yeah.
So try to avoid, when you can, especially when it's good conditions, being the guide or the rope gun.
Yeah. In the rope gun especially, it can be very easy to fall into that trap of being like, oh, but like I need to hang the draws for these people. Let me tell you, one of the best early pieces of advice I got in sport climbing was be the rope gun. Specifically for if you're going out, and I was always climbing with someone else who was at my level, they were like, you need to be proficient at hanging your own quick draws, of cleaning your own routes.
Yes.
You need, like, there should never be that awkward back and forth of like, oh, why don't you hang the draws? It'd be, I did it last time, or I'll let you go because I'm being nice, but really I'm nervous. That needs to be out of the question. It needs to be second nature that you're like, oh yeah, dude, like just grabbing the draws, racking them up on your harness. You don't even think twice. And giving that to someone else is so important because you're empowering them.
Huge.
Just saying like, hey, if someone's like, oh, I don't feel comfortable hanging the draws, it's like, cool. Tell you what, let's get you stick clipped. I'll stick clip the 3rd draw for you. I carry like a 24-foot stick clip. I'll hang the 4th and 5th.
Yeah.
And then,
absolutely.
You know what? It's okay. You take your time. You can hang on every draw if you want to. I'm here. We'll do this together. But if you're helping to empower them, one, that makes them a better climber. That makes them be able to enjoy it better. Because also, no one wants to be like, can you go hang the top rope back up for me? Or can you hang my draws on this? They feel bad because they want to see you succeed on your 512 project. So you're helping them not only be better, but also they're going to enjoy the day more because they don't feel like an anchor. And now you get to rock climb more.
Exactly. Yeah. If you have to, or if you want to, take a person out, teach them to climb, hang the rope up for them, all of that. Spend that day also making them proficient.
Yes.
So that they can belay you, so that they understand the finer points of belaying on something hard, so that they can lead, so that they can clean the anchors, so that they understand pad placement, help them become proficient so that they're an equal partner in this thing. And everybody's going to feel better and do better because of that every single time.
Yeah. Dude, this reminds me of a funny story of a brother and sister. So the brother was 514 rock climber and sister just graduated college and he needed a belay. He was like, it'd be great. You should come visit me down in the New River Gorge. It'll be awesome. You'll spend the summer here. And her first rock climb, like she came and he took her to the Cirque, which the easiest climb is called the warm-up, which, dude, if you're ever naming routes, don't name the easy route the warm-up, because that's demoralizing. So her first ever project, I think, was the warm-up, and it took her like weeks to do. Her second route ever was a 12C, because he wanted to climb all the 514s at the cliff. And he was like, no. He's like, here's the cool thing. So here's how rock climbing works. You just try one route for months at a time. And that's it. That's what you do. You keep coming to the same cliff. And how fortunate you get to come to the cliff with me where I want to climb. So you're going to do this. And so she just ultra projected, like just right out of the gates, straight into the sweatiest tactics you've ever seen of projecting. Because he was already a mega projector of like a 14 minus climber. But yeah, now I think she's climbed 514 now. She's climbed 13 plus at least. But hilarious. Yeah, he was just like, so this is how rock climbing works. You just try the same thing and you don't do them. Sometimes you don't do the moves for weeks even, but that's okay.
Well, I mean, I guess if you're going to build your perfect partner,
dude,
got to do what you got to do.
I know. I'm going to tell mom if you don't come belay me.
Yeah, I love it. That's hilarious. I think one other way to, make the most of your time outside. If you have limited days, you only get out on the days you get out on. Not all of those days are going to be perfect. Instead of just beating your head against a project or something, go get on things you would avoid on those less than perfect days. I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't slab climb," But there's going to be a time when your project ends in a slab and you're going to fall off up there.
Yeah.
Go climb some things you would normally avoid, become more adaptable. Even if you only do that a couple of times a year, a couple of times a season, it's really valuable. Go trad climbing if you're a sport climber. Go bouldering if you're a trad climber. Yes, go bouldering if you're a trad climber more often than you do. All of that kind of stuff can really help you be able to transition to outdoor climbing better, can help you be more comfortable outside. It may not seem like it while you're doing it because you're struggling on this slab that's 3 grades below what you think you should be climbing. But the next time you come out and encounter a slab, you're going to feel better on it.
Yeah. Not to mention, we talked earlier about how when you climb outside, actually trying hard, going through the motions of trying very, very hard on something that is challenging for you outdoors, that is a skill, and it's something we don't practice enough. For that reason, I love anti-style mini projects in the off season. It's like, oh, it's September. It's still warm and gross. Okay, cool. I'm going to go try and do a route, maybe 2 or even 3 grades below what I normally climb. That's in a really hard style for me. So I'm getting to go through all the motions of practicing hard clips, going through, having to deal with falls that might be a little bit scary. All this in a style that's going to make me better. And now, okay, the weather is good. I'm already feeling sharp. I know how to tie in with expectations of I'm here to go clip anchors.
Totally. And being here to clip anchors, I think is, leads me into my last point here, which is if you have actually maxed out your time outside, use some of those days to finish climbs, to do rock climbs.
Yeah.
Don't be just a projector. And that's what our next episode is going to be about. It'll be available to the patrons next week about, climbing within different project ranges, different climbing or campaign ranges, mini projects, mega projects, on-siting. Try all of those different things because they're all different. They all require different skills, and they're going to make you a better climber than you would be if you stuck to one of those for most of your climbing career. And I think that's one of the big bottlenecks.
Absolutely.
All right. Nate and I are both on the YouTubes. You can schedule a consult with Nate at powercompanyclimbing.com. Or if you're in the Salt Lake area, you can work with Nate in person. Links to those things are all in the show notes as always. And while you're there, you should subscribe to The Current, which is our newsletter where we connect the dots between ideas about training and performance so that we can learn, grow, and excel.
This time, this time, this time, this time, this time to fix, 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 this time to